Good morning and welcome again to the First Baptist Church of Florence Sunday School Hour. Again, my name is Tom Grant and I have been teaching for the last few weeks our Sunday school lesson online for those who are unable to attend church either because of COVID or because of homebound situations. But I want to say thank you to those of you that have joined in with us online, and I pray that you are receiving something from the messages that you are hearing here in the church. If you are not attending church somewhere else, or maybe you're just viewing this online for the first time, we would give you an invitation to come to our church. We have a wonderful pastor. We have wonderful Sunday school teachers that are teaching for all levels, and we would just love to have you come and be part of us. But just so you know, the door is open at any time you want to come. We are still studying in the book of Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon, in the Old Testament. We have gone through the book of Proverbs, and last week was our first lesson in the book of Song of Songs. And last week we saw how Solomon, the king, had met a Shulamite woman from up in north central Israel. And we looked at their courtship and the things that they were talking about. They went through a walk among the grapevines, and they talked about their love for each other and watching out for the little foxes that come in and can destroy the vines, because she knows she's a country girl and he's a city boy. And there could be things that would come up that would be differences between them that have to be ironed out. And so they declared their love. In our lesson today, they are married. And our lesson is coming from chapters 5 through chapters 8 of the book of Song of Solomon. And so one of the things that we're going to look at today is something that every marriage has to deal with. And that is a time of disagreement. I don't know how many of you, and I don't even remember myself, an argument that my wife and I had when we were first married. I don't remember what it would have been about. I don't remember when the first argument came. But I do know that down through the years we have had areas where we have had conflicts, and we've had to come together and pray and work together to overcome the conflicts that arise in marriage. And so that's what our lesson is about today. Solomon and his new bride are getting used to living together, and they are trying to grow in their relationship with each other. And so now they have gotten to the place that they have had their first argument. And that's exactly what today's lesson is about. Now, I want to tell you before we get into the lesson that most scholars don't see this the way that I do. Most scholars think that she's having another dream. I disagree with that. I think this lesson is live, and in a few moments I'll show you why, because they have had an argument. And so for right now, they have been enjoying each other's love, but a conflict has come up. And they have had an argument over something, and we will see from today's lesson that there has been a disagreement, and we will see the reaction of Solomon to her. Apparently, things got hot between them. Things heated up. And it's a word of caution for us today, in our marriages. Be careful what you say to your mate when there is a conflict that has arisen in the marriage. Don't let your temper cause you to say or do something that you will regret later. But first of all, allow a cooling period, talk about it, pray about it. And I know that seems like a long process in the heat of the moment, but you will find that it works far better than saying things that hurt each other and then later having to come and apologize for that. And so we're going to look in Songs of Solomon in chapters 5 through chapters 8 and verse 14. And they are going to be trying to resolve this conflict. Now, we are not told what the argument was about, And I, again, don't believe this is a dream. I believe this is a real life circumstance. Because God has given us a book about love and marriage and the relationship, especially the sexual relationship between a married man and woman. And we know by experience from our own lives that conflicts arise from time to time. So I don't think she's dreaming this. I think that this has been based upon some kind of an actual conflict between the two. And so in chapter 5 of the Song of Solomon, we see that she begins to speak. And she says, I opened to my love, but my love had turned and gone away. My heart sank because he had left. I sought him, but did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer. Now, first of all, I want you to see that she has turned. They have been arguing about something apparently, and she has gotten caught up in the heat of the moment, and then she has realized what has happened to her. So she has stopped, and she has turned to face her husband and to begin to resolve the conflict. Only when she turned, she finds that he is not there. He has gone away. Solomon has gotten angry, and rather than say something that would cause hurt and much pain, Solomon has just simply left. And so when she turns around to see him, she realizes he has left. And that's exactly what couples do sometimes. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, one or the other will get mad and they will just leave. And that's exactly what he's talking about here. And she is letting us know she turns to her love and she wants to reconcile and make this thing right, but he, in the heat of the moment, has gotten angry and that he has left. And then she says, because of that, her heart sank. And she begins to wonder. I mean, this man and I are now married, and we've had our first major conflict, and he has left. Is he gone for good? And her heart within her begins to sink. Will he come back? Or will he just leave me forever and divorce me and get rid of me? And where could he be? Where has he gone? And all of those things are entering into her mind, and so her heart begins to sink. And we've all experienced that at times. And we've all been through those type of things. And our heart, it causes our heart to sink. And we begin to wonder where God is at, or where our husband or wife is at when these situations arise. So she says, when she realizes that he has left, that she begins to seek him. Now they're in the palace that Solomon had built in Jerusalem, and she goes running through the palace looking for him. He has turned and left, and she is alone, and now she wants to find out what he's doing and where he's gone to, and try to get this thing straightened out between them. But he is gone, and so she goes searching through the palace. And she says, but I did not find him. She goes through the rooms of the palace. She goes through the hallways of the palace. She's looking for him, and nowhere can she find him. So then she calls out to him. She begins to call his name, Solomon, my love, where are you? What has happened? Why are you so angry? Why did you leave me? All of these questions going through her mind. But when she calls out for him, she's running through the palace calling out his name, but gets no answer, because apparently he has left the palace. And then she makes the same statement she made in last week's lesson, only this time it has a different interpretation. And so I want us to see that this is the reason that I believe, and I think if you think about it, you would agree with me, that this has been because of an argument. Because she says, the guards who go about the city found me, they beat me and wounded me. Now let me tell you, a marriage in Israel was a big thing. Every guard in the city would know that this was one of Solomon's wives. This was his wife. And they would never dare to lay a hand on her. If they did, they knew what he would do. It would be the end of their life. And so she says, they beat me and wounded me, and they took my cloak from me. The guardians of the walls. And what she's talking about here is she's talking about her emotions. This has been such an emotional drain upon her over this argument with her husband. And the guards who guard the walls, which are our emotions, and her determination and her will, they have all been torn down because of his leaving. She feels alone. She feels empty. She feels like she has been beaten up and wounded. And she feels like life may be at an end. And where is her husband, her lover? Where has he gone? And what has he done? And whatever. And she can't seem to find him or do anything. And therefore she feels like she is alone. And she has been wounded by the emotional stress and the emotions that she has been put through because of him leaving in the heat of the moment. And then she makes a statement about the cloak. They removed the cloak. Now, in ancient Israel, women wore a cloak to cover themselves or a veil to cover their face. And there were many rules in society that they had to abide by, as well as in the law. And so the cloak was used to cover up the inner dressing. And what she's saying here is her inside emotions, the thing inside of all of us that nobody can see but God, they have been stripped away from her because of this circumstance, and she feels like emotionally she is just drained and naked. That emotionally she has just had everything taken away from her, and she can't find him, and she wants to talk with him, and she is drained emotionally, and she just feels like she's been beaten up, and she feels like she has just lost her cloak. Her emotions are in a tossed up. They're in a toss-turvy mode. And she is having all kinds of troubles dealing with this first argument. It's not like it was before. Before it was full of love and humility and loving on each other. And now suddenly he is gone because something has happened. They've had their first conflict in the marriage. And so that's why I think it's not a dream. No guard would touch the wife of Solomon. They would know what would happen. But emotionally, she feels like she's just been stripped naked because all of her emotions are just drained away from her. And then she begins to ask for help. She says in verse 8, "Young women of Jerusalem, I charge you, if you find my love, tell him I am love sick." Now that's an expression of I am drained emotionally. I am so missing my loved one. I am so missing the closeness we had. I am so missing your gentle touch and all of those things that I am lovesick. I cannot go on unless I find him. So she asked the young women of Jerusalem, and she says, "I charge you." Now, first of all, what she's asking for is for them to help her look and find her husband. And she gives them a charge. The charge is, if you find him, don't you let go. You bring him and bring him back to me. It's a commandment. I charge you, young women of Jerusalem. But it's also a plea. If you see him, oh, please tell me where he's at. I need to know where my love has gone. He has left me in the heat of the moment, and I can't find him. I have looked everywhere for him. I can't see him, and I am drained, and I need help in looking for him. And she says, if you find my love, if you go out and you see him somewhere in this city or somewhere in the palace, I've got a message that I want you to give him. And I want you to tell him, I am lovesick. I am sorry about what has happened between us. And I need his reassurance that he still loves me. He has left me, and I don't know where he's gone, and I want to make sure that he still loves me and is still wanting to be with me. And therefore, I am lovesick. I want to be reconciled. And I want things to be like they were before. And then in verse 9, the young women of the city, the other maids, ask her a question. And they say, what makes the one you love better than another? Most beautiful of women, what makes him better than another, that you would give us this charge? So the young women of the city say to the Shulamite woman, well, what makes him so special? I mean, after all, there are other men all around us all the time. What makes him so special that you would be lovesick over him? I mean, you know, you've had this maybe a heated argument, and he got mad and left. Why do you want to reconcile with him? Why don't you just let him go and forget the whole matter? And so they said, what makes your love better than another? In other words, we would say today, there's more fish in the sea than one, or all men are the same. It's just a man, and he's not important to anybody else. And so again, they ask her the question, what makes him better than another that you would give us this charge? He's just a man like all other men. And why would you plead for us to help you find him whenever you've given us this charge? You've made us swear that if we find him, we're going to come to you and tell you where he's at, and we're going to tell him your message that you are lovesick and you want him back and you need him and all of those things. Now, what makes him better than any other person? He's no better than any other man. So then she begins to answer them. In verses 10 through 12, she says, here's why I love him above all men. First of all, she says, my love is fit and strong, notable among 10,000. His head is purest gold. His hair is wavy and black as a raven. His eyes are like doves beside flowing streams, washed in milk and set like jewels. So she begins to list the physical things that makes her love him, that attracts her to him. And she says, first of all, he is fit and strong. In other words, he is muscular. He is young. He is fit. He can run. He can walk. He can fight. He can do all the things that a man wants to do when he's in his prime. And he's very muscular, and because he's very strong. So I'm attracted to him physically by the way that he looks. But then she says, he is notable. He stands out among all of the other men. She said, if you went into a place where there were 10,000 men, it would be my love that would stand out and be noticed above all the others of the 10,000. And so she says he's notable. He stands out. You can't miss him. You will see him, and if you see him, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And then she says his head and his facial features are like fine gold, refined gold, clear. What she's saying is his facial features and his profile, his skin is clear. It doesn't have any blemishes on him. And it's like refined gold. His skin is smooth and it's soft to the touch, and his head is just perfect to look at. And when I look at his profile to the side, I love everything about him. I love the way he looks. I love the way he moves. I love the fact that he's strong and that he's fit and that he's notable. And then she said, there's something else about him you will notice. His hair is black and it's very wavy. It's curly. He's got a natural curl in his hair, and it's black as a raven, and that stands out to her. Here is this head that looks like fine gold, and all of this smoothness and no wrinkles and all of that, and then on top of that is the black hair that is wavy and usually in this day and time fairly long. And so she says his hair just highlights the gold of his skin. And then she says, in addition to that, he has lovely eyes. When you look into his eyes, it's like looking into the eyes of a dove. They are soft, and they are gentle, and they are appealing. It's like looking into the doves that go down by the flowing streams. And if you've ever heard a dove, doves they always look like they're just so soft and so gentle, and they're always doing that little coo sound that they make. And she said, when you look into his eyes, it's like looking into these dove eyes. You see, he's strong and muscular, but yet he's gentle and he's kind and he's just like a dove. And that's all the things that make me love him. And then she says, his eyes look like they've been washed in milk. In other words, he's got beautiful white around his pupils. White as milk. In that day, they didn't have any other thing maybe to compare it to. But she says that his eyes they're not bloodshot. They don't have red lines running through them. The white of his eyes is just so pure and so white, and makes his eyes just seem to look like they've been washed in milk. And then she says, and his pupils are like two jewels. I don't know the color of his eyes. She doesn't say here. But his eyes stand out on that white background. His pupils stand out. So she loves him because he's fit, strong, notable, has smooth skin, hair is black and wavy, eyes look like doves, and look like jewels set in a body. And for all of those reasons, she is very physically attracted to him and very much in love with him. And then she goes on to talk about his other body parts. First of all, she says his cheeks are like beds of spice, mounds of perfume. His lips are lilies dripping with flowing myrrh. His arms are rods of gold set with beryl. His body is an ivory panel covered with lupus lazuli. His legs are alabaster pillars set on pedestals of pure gold. His presence is like Lebanon, as majestic as the cedars. His mouth is sweetness. He is absolutely desirable. This is my love, and this is my friend, young women of Jerusalem. For she goes on to say, his cheeks are like beds of spice or mounds of perfume. I don't know what men wore for cologne in those days. I know myrrh is a spice that was used for sweet smelling. But whatever he had, when she would get near him and their cheeks would touch, or she would kiss him on the cheek, or he would kiss her on the cheek, she says, I can smell this fragrant spice. And it's like mounds of perfume are just coming off of him. He smells good. And she loves the way he smells. And then she said, and his mouth are like lilies, and they are dripping with myrrh. Okay? Now myrrh, as I've already said, was a very sweet smelling spice in the days of the Old Testament and even into the New Testament. Myrrh was used as one of the spices to anoint the dead, because actually, to be totally honest, whenever people die, they begin to decay, and we all know that. And they used myrrh in the wrappings that they wrapped the body in to keep down the odor because it smelled so sweet. And she said, so when I kiss him, it's like myrrh is just dripping from his lips. He is such a good kisser. I love to kiss him. And that's another reason I'm in love with him. He smells good, and he's got lips that are like myrrh. And then she says his arms are rods of gold with beryl. Now, gold again, like his skin on his face. His arms are round, they're strong. They can enclose her within and pull her into him. And they are set with beryl. Yet within him there is a tint in his color. And that's something that we'll discuss a little in the next sentence. But his skin is like gold all over. And yet it's like he's got this beryl color to him. And if you go back and study the book of Ezekiel and other books of the Old Testament, Isaiah, this is the same color that they use in a description of God, golden beryl. And that's what she's using to describe Solomon. She says, when I look at him, it's like, oh, how did God ever create such a beautiful creature? And that's how she feels about him. And she loves being held in his arms and they're like gold that's been set with beryl. And then he says, his body is an ivory panel covered with this lapis lazuli. Well, lapis lazuli was a mixture of minerals that they made that had a sort of greenish blue color to it, like a sapphire. So when she looks at his chest and down onto his loins, it's like he is like a sapphire. He's just beautiful in every way. His arms are beautiful. His chest is beautiful. His head is like fine gold. His body's like gold all over. And he's just beautiful to look at. And she says, and his legs, they're like alabaster pillars. His legs are strong and straight and muscled. And she says it's like the pillars that hold up the palace and hold up the temple, and they're white, gleaming with alabaster. And she said that's how he is. To look all at his body is unbelievable. The beauty that lies within him that attracts me. And when he's left me as he has now, and then he's angry with me, it just destroys my whole world. And I just want you all to understand, he'll be easy to spot because of all of these reasons that I have given you that makes him 1 in 10,000. And then she goes on and she says, his presence is like Lebanon, as majestic as the cedars. Now, when you look in the Old Testament at the building of the temple and the building of the palace of Solomon, they went to, David, his father, sent to the land of Lebanon and had magnificent cedar trees. And I'm sure most of us can remember they used to make what we called cedar chests. You could put stuff in. It would keep away moths and that kind of thing. And the cedar wood is red with a creamy white running through it. And she says his presence is majestic. When you get to the cedar forest in Lebanon, you look it up and the cedar trees are tall and they're big and they're strong. And they were used for wood that would not be able to decay or could not be infested with insects. And so she says his presence as a whole is like a cedar of Lebanon. He just stands out in every way that you look at him. And then she says his mouth is sweetness again. She loves to kiss him. It's a sweet kiss every time he gives her a kiss. As I said a few moments ago, he is a good kisser. And that's something that's important to her. And then she says he is absolutely desirable. Everything about this man is desirable to me. The way he looks, the way he acts, the things he does, his intimacy with me, all of those things are very important to me. His kiss, and when you look at him, girls, he just looks absolutely desirable. You just, in your mind, you begin to wonder, wow, how could God make such a beautiful man? And that's what she's saying to them. And this is why I love him. And then she says, notice this. She says, first of all, this is my love. This is the one that I love. And I love him supremely above all men. And he is the one that I want to be with for the rest of my life. He is my love. But she said, not only is he my love, she says he is my friend. Now I'll tell you, one of the best things you can have in life is a wife that you love or a husband that you love who are not only your lover but are also your friend and your confidant. Couples need to be friends. They need to be able to tell each other things that they wouldn't tell everybody else. They need to be comfortable enough with each other to know not only does he love me or she loves me, but they are my closest friend. Nobody in the world is as close to me as my wife. Or nobody is as close to me as my husband. He's not only my love, but he absolutely is my friend. And then she says, so young women of Jerusalem, you'll recognize him when you see him because of all the attributes that I've given you. Now in chapter 6, which is not in our lesson today, on into chapter 8, apparently they make up. And I know, and I'm sure those of you that are married know, sometimes after an argument, making up is the best part. But she says in this next chapter, the man comes back to the wife, if Solomon comes back to her, and he puts her in a chariot and has her ride through the streets of Jerusalem with him so that he can see and everybody in the city can see her beauty. And as he's riding with her, he gives her word pictures that covers the depth of his love for her. Yes, I got angry and I left, but it didn't do anything to my love. I still love you just as much as I did. And so he's riding her through the city for everybody to see her beauty. And he's speaking words of love and words of comfort. And he's telling her he still longs to be with her. And in a moment of confidence with him, she promises that she will be with him forever. No matter what, he will always be her love. And then she suggests to him, well, you know, we've had this argument. And we have recommitted our love to each other. But you know what would be good for both of us, Solomon? We need to go off somewhere together. A little trip somewhere. Not back to my hometown or your hometown, but somewhere where we will be together. And maybe people won't know us very well. And we can spend some time together to try to build a defense against future arguments or future conflicts as they come up in our marriage. And let me tell you, it is good for every couple to be able to get away and have some time together. Away from the problems of this world, away from the kids, if you have kids, away from the families, if you have families, just you and her alone together, spending some time together, reassuring each other of your love, and it will keep your marriage a happy marriage. And so she suggests, you know what, Solomon, it's springtime. Why don't we go into the countryside, somewhere just the two of us, and spend some time alone and assure each other? And he agrees to that, and they go. Well, that's the end of this week's lesson. And I hope that you see conflicts come in every marriage. But if we trust each other and love each other and believe in each other and trust in the Lord in our marriage, conflicts can be resolved. Things can work out for the better. And sometimes we need to have that time alone together to resolve the conflicts and all of those types of things. It's a good lesson. It's not an exciting praise the Lord, hallelujah lesson. But it is a good lesson about the relationship between a man and a wife and how to avoid and how to handle conflicts when they come. Don't let heated words create a problem in your marriage. Take time to think, pray about it, spend some time together, work through and get a solution that both of you can live with, and you'll have a much happier marriage. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we are so thankful for your word. And we know, Father, that your word is written for us. Help us to see in this lesson today that when times of conflict come in a marriage, not to get heated, not to do the wrong thing, but to do the right thing with each other. I pray for the couples in our church and the couples that are listening today. I pray, Lord, that you will give them great peace and consolation in their marriages, and that you will show them how to love truly one another. And I pray for those today that don't have a partner. Lord, I pray that you will help them remember the partner that they had down through life and how good it was to be married to that one special someone. May their lives be filled with good memories, and may they be comforted with the love of Jesus in their life, knowing that one day we all are going to be taken out of this world with him and become his bride. And he in that day will speak comforting words unto us. Be with us through this week. Lead us by your Spirit and by your power. Whatever we accomplish, let us give you all the praise and the honor and the glory. For it's in Christ's name I pray. Amen. Well, thank you for listening today. I pray that you will have a good week and that you will be blessed in the Lord. And Lord willing, we'll look forward to seeing you next week where we will finish the book of the Song of Solomon. Have a wonderful week. Thank you.